Hello, beautiful people. How are we all doing this post-Christmas week? I'm Natalie Kent, creator of the Natural Cycles group, the one you're in right now, and the Natural Cycle Planner, this one right behind me, and Sacred Business. And today, this Business by Nature live show is about money flow. So we are now officially in Capricorn. The theme is evaluation. It means looking at the fruits of our efforts for the entire year. Where is the money on the table, Capricorn says. I want the evidence of all this hard work. So Business by Nature is about simple steps for creation. So Business by Nature is essentially about creation. Creating a business, same as creating a baby, creating a relationship, building a home. It is all the same thing. Everything in life, everything is part of creation, follows the same cycles. We see them popping up throughout our entire universe. You might be familiar with the Fibonacci sequence. Hello, Jody. Glad you're here, like clockwork. So the Fibonacci sequence, which is actually why the spiral planner, the Natural Cycle Planner, is in a spiral, because that is how nature creates. That is how we are created. There is actually a sequence, a formula, if you like, behind all of creation. It is not a mystery. For the most part, anyway. It's not a mystery when we get down to that granular detail of how creation happens. Scientists have actually shown that creation follows a pattern. So why wouldn't we tap into that natural flow of creation rather than making it hard for ourselves and trying to do it the way our minds think we need to create, the way we think a business needs to be created? Let's look to the master of all creation, which is our evidence, is Mother Earth. So we are looking for those examples always in Business by Nature, looking for what are the signs to show us, to guide us about how to create a sustainable livelihood. So let's talk about, first of all, this concept of money flow. Money flow is a different approach to how money is generally considered in business, or not just in business, in life too. So traditionally, conventionally, there is this expectation that we should accumulate wealth and possessions. And the more wealth and possessions we accumulate, the more secure we will feel, the happier we will feel within ourselves. Well, certainly in my life, that has not proven to be so, and certainly in my family's life, and certainly the people that I look around outside of me and go, hang on, are these wealthy people, these people who have accumulated the nice house with the picket fence, these people who have accumulated millions of dollars in their bank accounts, has it made them happier and given them a sense of greater security? Yes and no. So you might be familiar with the threshold, and they've done studies on this. There is a threshold where more money actually does give us a greater sense of ease and security in our lives. So if you're earning, and that threshold is around $75,000. If you're earning under that, once you reach around $75,000, you'll start to see that more money after that point does not increase your sense of ease and security. It adds stress and burden. So what does this mean? What does this mean? That there could actually be a threshold where we are no longer reaping the benefits of having more money? Does it mean that we actually have our own sense of what is enough? Perhaps it does. That's what we're going to explore today. So money flow, by comparison to the conventional accumulation of money approach, is about equilibrium. Money flows in, money flows out, money flows in, money flows out, as with the ebb and flow of life, of creation, the seasons, for example. We are not necessarily meant to have consistent levels of money, of profit at all times. However, we can still maintain an equilibrium. And as a practical example, simple example, if there are some months where you're not earning the same amount of money in your business, therefore money is tight, then you can either save money in your living expenses in other ways, save money. It's the easiest way to make money is save money. Or you can free up some money that you have perhaps been sitting on, releasing investments, selling possessions, all sorts of other things. You can also look at borrowing, loaning things, doing exchanges with people. This is really the essence of true abundance. It's looking at how we can be supported in all forms, not just through money. So this concept of money flow is really at the heart of sacred business, of business by nature, because this equilibrium, by the example I gave before, with that threshold of $75,000 being the tipping point of personal sense of security, we have this inner sense of equilibrium, of what is too much. Now, perfect time to talk about this. Christmas Day. How many people ate too much food? Anyone out there eat too much food? So, great example, because this is overconsumption. Why do we do overconsumption? It is to fill up a void that we feel within ourselves. I know some people on Christmas Day, they eat so much because they're actually really bored and don't know how to hold conversation with their own family members. There are lots of reasons we overconsume. So this overconsumption actually stagnates our money flow. So whether it's overconsuming food, possessions, money, whatever it is, the principle remains. Overconsumption stagnates your money flow, your internal sense of flow with life. Hey Jill, glad you're here too. So let's look at some examples of money flow and what inhibits it for us. What can actually stagnate our money flow in our work and our personal lives. There's not really much separation, but really we're talking about business here, looking at your financial statements. This is the month, Capricorn is a month, where we're looking at how we've done this year so far, taking the grey goggles off that might be fudging the numbers or misinterpreting them or hoping that there's something that they're not, but literally looking at the black and white reality. This is the month for that. So what does it all mean? What do the numbers on the page really say about your internal sense of flow? Oh, Liz. Great. Cool. Glad you're looking forward to using the planner. Absolutely. The new planner's coming out soon, everyone. The one that kicks off end of March. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully in Capricorn it'll be ready. Jillian saying, avoid conversations to avoid the conflicting issues or openness to see the world differently. Yeah, so relating to Christmas Day. So, yeah, Christmas Day can be very challenging and very uncomfortable for people because they're having to sit with family members for a long period of time without distraction. There's nothing to do necessarily on Christmas Day other than eat and make food. Or you might be a super active family where you actually get out and do stuff, which is great. For me, on Christmas Day, I actually spent the day packing boxes. My parents are moving, so my sister and I were entrenched in lots of baggage from the past. So I'm going to talk about that in a moment too. Actually, let's talk about that now. Second thing on my list, but let's bump it to the top because it's actually highly important. Physical baggage, possessions that are not in use or in circulation in some way are weighing you down, are inhibiting your flow. Absolutely. In fact, they've done studies on this where they have taken cancer patients, terminal cancer patients, into their homes and helped them to clear out the clutter because they're expecting to pass, so they want to leave their house in a reasonable condition. And they cleared out the clutter with these cancer patients, and over half of them had an unprecedented increase in their health, completely unexpected at that stage of cancer. Because when you release physical items that are not serving you, are not in use, you increase your flow. You actually add energy into your system. Because everything that you own has a little piece, a little slice of your energy. And it's pulling on you. Even if it's buried in a storage unit somewhere and you haven't seen it for years, energetically, that is still tying you down. And I know this intimately because I've been traveling for 4 years now, and every time I come back to my stuff in storage, I go through it again, shocked usually at how much is still there, and I reduce it more, and I reduce it more, and I reduce it more. And every time I do this, even though I don't like doing it, because it's challenging to decide what to release sometimes, every time I do it, I feel immense freedom in myself. My whole energy lifts. I feel lighter. So this process of releasing, this is why I said how your past has impacts your money flow. Anything that is weighing you down from the past is going to create weight on your entire system. Physical possessions are one thing. Debt. Let's talk about debt for a moment. Debt is another thing. Debt also weighs us down unless that money that we have borrowed is actively serving us and we are actually making progress because of that money we've borrowed. And we feel like we're making progress. We don't feel like it's a ball and chain that's getting us nowhere. How we feel about our money situation is paramount. If you feel weighed down, it will weigh you down. And so this debt that sits there in the past, debt is in the past as well, is often, if that debt is not serving you, it is often a sign of guilt. And this particularly crystallized for me for two reasons. One is my family, my parents, have had debt for many, many years, most of my life, which has not served them. And it has been a huge burden that has really stopped them from being able to move forward. And it was only when that debt was released recently that their lives started to move forward again. So debt is another weight. If it is not serving you, serving your life, moving you forward in some way. The other reason this has crystallized for me only recently is because I read a book called The 4 Spiritual Keys to Prosperity, I believe it's called. And one of the keys talks about debt. And it says that debt is actually guilt from the past. You're guilty about something, you will carry debt. You'll potentially be carrying debt that is not serving you. So there is deep, deep forgiveness that is required to release unproductive debt in your life. So you might, oh, hello, Leonie. That makes a lot of sense. Which part? I'm sorry, I missed your comment. I don't know which part, but I'd love to hear if anyone listening in has experienced debt that is not serving them. How was it for you? Can you relate to what I'm saying? That debt, unproductive debt, is actually guilt in disguise. Guilt from the past, guilt from something you've done or not done, something that you're carrying unnecessarily. And what happens energetically is the debt is created to match the guilt, so we feel that equilibrium. The body, our energy fields will always seek to find equilibrium. So when we remove the guilt, the debt suddenly frees up. There is space for it to move. It is not locked in place, and a different equilibrium can result. Leonie, debt that helps you get where you need to go is okay. Yes, absolutely. But the guilt aspect is giving you something to think about. Yes. So this, it does raise a question of really being honest with yourself. Is this debt serving me? Because sometimes it can get very messy. Sometimes you might have debt that is partly serving you and partly entrenched in guilt. So what do you do then? For a start, you just need to be honest. How is it serving you and how is it not serving you? That opens up the space for things to move, for it to be healed. But forgiveness is really at the core of guilt. Jody, this year I've actually reduced business debt along with personal guilt. Oh, bravo. Lovely. So you can see that link, Jody. You've experienced it. Leonie, is this the guilt that stems from the fear of not belonging to someone? Potentially, yes. I don't know, Leonie, because it depends on the situation. I wouldn't say that it has to be that. The guilt could be about anything. Anything at all. It doesn't have to be about anything money related. From a previous relationship, I know a lot of people have debt from past relationships or business failures. They feel guilt over what happened. But there are lots of other reasons why we might be carrying guilt. It could be something that happened in our childhood. I know one example of a family friend who has immense guilt because her brother was killed in a car accident when he was very young, and she felt responsible and she carried this guilt throughout her life. That can manifest in debt, or it can manifest in health issues. It can manifest in many different ways. Jody, gosh, I'm seeing this in a whole new way for me and others. Woohoo, that's what we want. So, debt, really look at what you are carrying and is it truly serving you? Can you put your hand on your heart and say, this debt is for my highest good? We could do a whole segment on that. Just open that can of worms. But anyway, we must keep moving because there's another one that is very critical here. Money flow. What do you think the third thing I'm going to say? We've covered physical baggage, possessions that are not in use, not in circulation. Covered debt. What's the third one? You might be able to guess. I have to wait for the delay. So just in case someone chimes in, I hope I don't beat anyone to it. The third one is physical weight on your body. If you want to weigh down your money flow, put on weight. It's that simple. So excess weight in your body is a sign of stagnation. If you in yourself, the physical form, are stagnated in some way, the flow in your outside world will be stagnated in some way too. And I'm not saying, by the way, that the only form of stagnation is excess weight. It's not. But particularly in relation to money flow, if you have excess weight, you are sitting on excess energy that could be used to generate more flow. So people who are weighed down by physical weight on their bodies feel heavy. It slows them down physically. And we become numb to that excess weight. And I experienced this myself recently where I just became increasingly disillusioned with my body. And I knew that something had to change. It usually means that I've been ignoring something. And I actually took some full body photos in my swimsuit. and because I really wanted to look at what is stagnant in my body, what isn't moving. And I could see very clearly where the stagnation was occurring. It was around my waist, my hips, and my legs. And that is also associated with my creator type, which is the volcano, the lava. So lava types have this tendency to put on weight in their lower body when they're not using their fire. So it's like the sides of the volcano become rigid and the lava starts to swell, but it's not given an outlet, so it just sits there. And that's what was happening in my body. You could see it. And so in order to get that energy moving, I decided to do a cleanse, and I also started reading a book and doing exercises on how to adjust and release old energy in my body. And so in the last few weeks, and I know I'm crazy, I was doing a detox over Christmas, but I've released a lot of that stagnant energy now in the lower part of my body. There's more work to do, but it has moved, it's shifted, and it's visibly evident. Well, I need to do some more photos actually to see the before and after. So it's not a huge amount of weight. I wasn't overweight, because a lot of you out there may not be overweight or fat or whatever. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you don't have stagnation in your body, because when you look at your body and you feel disillusioned about a particular part of your body, for me it was around my waist and my legs, I'm like, whoa, that doesn't look right. Whatever you're disillusioned about yourself in your body is a sign. It's trying to tell you something. Hey, look at me. I'm holding on. Something out of balance here. Leonie, that's really cool, because when you were discussing the physical baggage, I thought how the tapping I've done to shift weight has changed how I feel about what can come into my life. Awesome, Leonie. Yes. Jillian, and/or providing an anchor for others rather than lighting my own load to fly. Yes, that's a very good point, Jill. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, this is really, really an important point. You will see this a lot with couples, where one person has excess weight and the other one doesn't. So the other one might be quite light in frame and the other one is not. And I'm not saying this was what you were saying, Jill, but it's certainly something I see a lot. And this is where the transference of energy happens, and one person is actually providing the anchor for another. It doesn't have to be a spouse, by the way. It could be a child or someone else. But they are providing the physical anchor for someone else. So the weight that they are carrying isn't for them. So that is absolutely out of balance and can stagnate flow, not just with the person carrying the weight, but also with the person who's not carrying the weight, because they're not anchoring themselves in some way on this earth, which is where money comes from the physical plane. Jillian, yep, noticed a fire in your voice and the depth of your voice lately. Oh, thanks, Jill. Yep, must be coming from my lava. It's been given an outlet. Proxy. Porksy, Jill. I like you typing there. Proxy. Absolutely. Weight, putting on weight by proxy happens all the time. The weight you are carrying may not be yours. Who are you trying to anchor? So, excess weight in the body, same as clearing clutter in the house, clearing debt that doesn't serve. It all frees up your energy to move with life, to allow money to flow in and to flow out. We want this, actually it's like a figure eight, this infinity. Money goes out, comes back to you. So, the key point here is that everything that you own, including your body, which is really the only thing you own, everything that you own must be in circulation in order to be in flow with life. If it is not being used, it will weigh you down. So people who own more cars than they need to drive, that becomes a burden, an energetic burden. It may not feel like a burden, because they may not be conscious of it, but it is an energetic burden because it's more than what they need. Same as eating more food than you need. Same as carrying more weight than you need. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, well, I love my cars. I have to sell them all. You may be a car person. Cool. Sell them all, but get them in circulation, which means get other people driving them. Get them in use in society so that they're not just all sitting in your back pocket on top of you, which is how the burden happens. If they're in use in circulation, they're no longer a burden to you. Others are carrying that responsibility and getting enjoyment from them. Big, big difference. Doesn't mean you can't own things, lots of things if you like, but make sure they're in circulation. If you're at the point where you can't use them, get rid of them. Leonie, more thoughts. My dad and I were the fat ones in the family and my mother and brother the skinny ones. Bingo. The anchors of the family. Absolutely. See it all the time. So this is a dynamic when you see that you are carrying for others, that is then your choice to continue that or not. But of course, if it's stemming from childhood, it can be quite a lot to unravel. And that happens to be Jodie's expertise, family tree of beliefs. Hey, Jodie. So what Jodie does, she works with family, like familial inherited belief systems and how to release them to find your own truth. Jodie, the year I spent on my own with the least possessions was the year I was at my lightest. Oh my God! Yes. Absolutely. So I know that feeling too. I remember when I was traveling, I was, living from a suitcase. It's just awesome. I love feeling that light. However, I did have a heap of baggage left at home when I did that. So I was cheating, but it gave me the illusion of feeling light for a year or two. Cool. So we've talked about cleaning up your past, your debt that doesn't serve, your body, your physical baggage and possessions. Another aspect is your accounts. Now, I'm not going to go into this too much. It's not so much about your past, but it may be about your past. You might have legacy bank accounts, or, if you've got a messy situation with your bank accounts that need cleaning up, then do that. It's Capricorn. It's time for that stuff, to take care of business. Another aspect which I now do myself every month is I tithe. You may have heard tithings. A very ancient or age-old tradition of giving away 10% of your income. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this because it really warrants another chat, but I just wanted to mention it here because giving away 10% of my income to sources that have enriched my life in some way frees up my energy. And what happens in a practical level, at the end of the month when I do my profit and loss for the month and I look at what my profit was and I transfer that money, 10% of that, or actually sometimes I use my gross profit, not my net profit, but 10% either way is not mine. It goes back out into the universe to people and places and organizations that I have appreciated for some reason, that have meant something to me. So that 10%, here's the thing. If you think about your money flow as a river, and that river flows constantly, doesn't stop, it's constantly flowing. It might reduce a little bit, of course, ebb and flow of life and all that, or it might go into drought too, sometimes. But when that's reducing, it's still moving on the surface, and this is the illusion we can have about money flow. Oh, yeah, my money is moving. But as you go deeper into that river, there's sediment that isn't really moving. So how do you move that sediment in the river? Well, you move the stuff that you don't want to look at or you don't want to do, and it could be your physical possessions that you're sitting on at home that you don't no longer need. For me, it was that 10%. that I need to give back to the universe, because that keeps me in flow with life. It keeps me in gratitude for what I have received for that month. And it is non-negotiable. It just goes. And I feel amazing when I do it. So it may not be tithing. It may be something else for you. But really, what is that you need to do in order to get your money moving? Now, I hope some of the things I've talked about today have really given you something to think about. What may not be moving in your money flow? Jody, I have more clothes, shoes now than ever, and feel more like I don't know what to wear. Isn't that funny? Well, that's why Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, wears the same thing every day, because it removes one decision he no longer has to make, frees him up to make the million other important decisions that he has to make. So there's something in that, We're weighed down when we have too much choice. We are spoilt as white people in society, first world countries like Australia, like the US. We are absolutely spoiled. That's why we overeat on Christmas Day. We overspend, buy too many gifts for each other, when there's so many people out there who don't even have that. Don't even have the luxury of that choice to overeat or to overspend on gifts. So, Capricorn delivers the hard truth, and that is the hard truth of this time, is while we're all having a great time drinking and eating too much, what is the truth of that? What is it doing to us to live that way? Capricorn shakes her head. She's the crone. She knows the truth of this situation. So if you don't have enough money flow in your life, then look at what you're holding on to. Look where you're over-consuming and taking too much, more than what you need. So I know I gave a lot away this year, and it meant gave away a lot of my possessions, because I thought, well, these need to be back in circulation. So just think of it like that. The river got to keep flowing, so keep it all in motion. So has that been helpful, everyone? Are we enjoying the dose of Capricorn reality? The first delivery for this cycle, which, by the way, is happening also this week, 2 days' time, same time as today. I will be running a workshop on natural evaluation, how to evaluate your business for the year. So some of you have already registered. If you're coming along, awesome, thank you. And some of you have yet to register, so please do so. Don't forget to do that. The details are on the Facebook group page. And I look forward to seeing lots of you then. And let's see what other wise words Capricorn has for us then. Leonie, yes, I'm a Capricorn and don't overeat at Christmas. By the way, I love your hair. Thanks, Leonie. Thanks. Actually, that was me chopping off the past. I got to say, I chopped off about 6 inches. All gone. Cool. You're a Capricorn, Leonie, and you don't overeat. I love that. I love it. I'm a Capricorn rising, so I'm learning to be more of a Capricorn in that way. Liz, yes, definitely helpful, Natalie. Have only this morning started getting rid of stuff that no longer serves. Cool. Jody, yes, very helpful. About to go away, but wanted to stay home and chuck stuff now. Yeah. Yep. I hope this has given you all some impetus to get it moving. So let's hear, if you are one of those people who is actually going to take heed from this and go for it, release whatever it is that's weighing you down, we want to hear from you. How does it impact your money flow, or even how you feel within yourself? Let us know in the group. You're welcome to post anytime. Helen, yes to Friday. I'm so overeating this Christmas. What happens when we overeat? We give our body something to chew on constantly so we don't have to deal with what we really need to be dealing with, which is often the hard stuff, especially at this time of year. Gillian, yes to Friday. Coolio. I'll be seeing lots of you there then. Excellent. Well, thank you all for tuning in, especially Christmas week. I really appreciate it. It was lovely to interact with you, and lots and lots of love until I see you again in a couple of days.